Another Friday. Got a special shout out to our 30-year-old intern. Happy birthday today. You there?
Yep. It wasn't working before, but I got it.
Oh, happy birthday. Congratulations. It's only going to start falling apart from here. Let's see. We got J-Buds sitting in here. We got, oh shit. We got Davis joining in. What's going on, guys?
What up, Gates?
Where are you at today?
Shit, where am I at? I'm at the pub just down the street, Fillmore Pub. Might be a little loud, so I'll mute myself.
You're always sitting in bars and pubs and doing all the fun stuff that we can't do because we're old.
It's also 1 block away, so it's the easiest place to take your computer when you're waiting for emails to get back to you.
Nice.
Or a book,
So the other day you were out in the field playing Landman for an hour or two maybe. What were you up to, man?
I was just filing some assignments and checking to see if anything had been filed on our property, basically, or something else had been sold from one person to another. There's a lot of small working interest people in East Texas, so just kind of trying to make sure we keep everything intact and that something hasn't been transferred that we didn't know about. Sometimes old people die, so
they tend to do that from time to time.
So that was kind of it, and I was just talking to some banks in the area.
So at what, I think we're at like $104 right now for WTI. Yeah. Are banks actually letting you in the door now?
Yeah, and even in my little area, I mean, they're mostly focused on agriculture, but I mean, 2 of the 4 I stopped in were like, hey, we're community run. They'll definitely take a look at it. We don't necessarily say we do this. And one of them was like, yeah, we do this. We don't have a full outfit to evaluate it, but we'll take a look. And especially with the way prices are going, I mean, they're small community. And then when all of them own royalties, they, kind of are more interested anyways, but they just don't advertise it on their website or whatever. So if I probably hadn't showed up, I wouldn't have known, but yeah, they were very receptive, actually, and it's in the smaller communities, you have a lot more like-minded individuals who will, I guess, talk their mind about the current constraints and the way they see it in the market. So it's pretty refreshing.
Well, glad to hear that, because I know the capital constraints have been a huge issue for the past couple of years now.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and see, mine is, we're not very big per se, so really getting somebody to do reserve-based lending in our wheelhouse is not what banks in Dallas or Plano specify in. So finding a sweet spot is definitely a challenge.
Well, at $100 oil, I would imagine that you guys would be looking to expand, and I know you've talked about possibly drilling a little bit, at least doing some workovers. Is that still something that y'all are looking at, or are y'all already working on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are. We're actively looking on adding more oil prospects on, and trying to get those funded any way we can. And we have we're looking at a few other lease prospects that we want to add as much shallow oil as we can on right now, and a few more horizontal plays. And we do have gas drill wells, and since we've had some shows in our current producing field, we've been thinking about putting together a horizontal oil play in our current production, but that's probably a tougher sell than some of the shallower verticals that we've been trying to get done. So yeah, absolutely trying to add on anything else we can, and it's that's definitely the way the market's moving quickly, is everybody wants oil, so it seems like. So
yeah, I think everybody's kind of facing the same issues. If it's not capital, it's labor, services, shortages on materials, and everything else. So, anybody that could be producing more, I think, would be, without having to go through and start over on the capital cycle to be
Absolutely.
drilling, $14 million wells again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And anybody I talk to, I mean, East Texas isn't a huge hub for rigs right now, but if they wanted to really increase production, they couldn't really physically add on to the schedule because there's not enough really rig hands to get out there, or at least experienced rig hands, which is what
I mean, we've got 2 rigs running right now, which is pretty standard for our South Texas operation. But even if we wanted to add another rig, we don't have the inventory of locations or anything else, and we can't get our locations. Like, we do have actually the inventory. We can't get our locations built fast enough with shortages.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the trucking that's affecting us on the construction side right now, not
Makes
being
sense.
able to get enough truckers. So if we're supposed to have, 20 loads of material show up on a certain day because we're rocking a new pad location, we may get 8 of those truckloads simply because they don't have enough truckers to bring all of them.
Yeah,
And
that
that
makes all that problem.
that takes your, one day that you had budgeted in your normal timeline for construction, and that turns it into 3 or 4 days, which pushes everything else back because a lot of the process, you have to have a couple of days in between, when they're
Yep.
laying down the material and compacting dirt and everything like that. You got to water everything, compact it, let it dry out for a day or two before you can come back and work on it. So we literally can't move any faster than what we're doing right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost frustrating when when you see Saki and them up there. It's like, hey, blame all these CEOs. They said they don't want to grow. It's like, okay, you're heavily discounting the fact that activist investors have taken over those huge majors and don't want them to drill. Besides the fact that you have labor constraint, material constraint, now new regulations. Like, all you got to do is help us on some of these fronts.
Did you see the story that I posted this morning about Oxy getting denied by the SEC to decline that activist investor movement for, more green
I did not see that
provisions, which
God.
the entire article is talking about how Oxy is basically an industry leader for carbon capture and reduction in emissions and all of those other issues, and the SEC denied their attempt to decline a proposal by some of their activist investors, so
Are they
that they're
the
going to have to
majority?
have additional hearings on whether they're going to spend more money making less money.
Yeah, see, it's dumb. We live in a clown world right now.
We've got Not Lindsay here on the line, if she can figure out how to work the microphone today. Who knows if she's sitting there folding laundry or if she's at her desk this afternoon, but whenever
Maybe
she wants
today's the day.
whenever she wants to come chime in, we've got her sitting there in the chat right now. That story about Oxy was just kind of one of those. It was a very telling moment, and most of us in the industry have seen the writing on the wall for a long time that this is never going to be enough for the activists. Chuck always tried to say that maybe they just need a seat at the table and somebody to talk to, but they're not genuine when they make a compromise.
No, and it seems like you give them an inch, and they've taken a mile.
Right.
Every which way.
Anytime you compromise with any of these activists with renewables and net zero and all that, that's only a temporary step for them. That's never actually a binding agreement. So
Yeah.
in 2 months, they're going to say, "Oh well, the situation changed. The climate emergency is worse now, and so we're going to have to change the agreement."
Yeah, and I those moving targets is where it's just going to become an ever more increasing burden for these companies to get anything done. I mean, they just need to have a real conversation, hopefully, at some point that says, hey, this net zero thing by a certain date doesn't work without some of these other things getting done. Like
I mean,
nuclear and coal to gas, and some oil still has to be used. I mean, we can't not get away from petroleum products.
you can't start up the production cycle on oil and gas or nuclear or anything overnight. So you can't just say, "Oh shit, we need it now."
Yeah,
Turn on the power. It's one of those situations where these projects take millions, if not billions, of dollars and a lot of time. So
absolutely.
I think we got Tejano Brown sitting there in
Coming live from the
the
shop.
right now. I think he might be showing us some regulated explosive devices. That's one way to turn me on.
That and guns and martinis.
And we've got the intern joining in again. I was trying to say happy birthday to him, but he's having some technical difficulties at the moment.
Big shocker there.
I mean, you are from Tulsa, so I guess that kind of goes with the territory, right?
That's right.
Well, happy birthday, man.
Thank you. It was good to celebrate at Twin Peaks for lunch.
Even though the
Happy
cleavage
birthday,
was
intern.
subpar.
Yeah.
It's a part of the experience.
The subpar cleavage, I don't think that's part of the experience that you pay for.
You don't pay for it; you just are there for it.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. That's really what it comes down to. It's a mixed bag.
So
Did we just lose TB?
yeah, he was having a connection issue. That video was jumping all over the place. I'm sure he'll be back once he gets a better connection. So with everything that's going on, I mean, I don't really see a way that we're not going to have an escalation further in Ukraine. Um, we already had shipping issues, supply chain problems, everything else. We talked about it last week. Price of grain is going to go through the roof. We're not getting enough fertilizer now, which is going to contribute to shortages in everything, food stocks all over the world. Is there any possible scenario that doesn't result in $200 oil by the end of the year?
COVID lockdowns.
Maybe.
Shut the world down again.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that is a
guess. I
valid
mean,
point.
I guess if India and China are able to absorb a significant amount of Russia's export production and quickly, because I think I read an article today where India's purchase agreement for them this month is like quadrupled or something, which by 2 weeks ago it hadn't. And I think if they continue with their current increase of production, they may not have to shut down as much as they expected if India and China continue to purchase at an increased rate, mostly India. But I doubt that really has too much of an effect in such an already super tight market. And the rest of it is still going to go parabolic with wheat and such being held off as an export from Russia. Um, So I don't know. Probably not that I can see.
I mean, I don't see a way around it. like we were discussing earlier, everybody that can produce more is going to be producing more right now. We're a capitalist country. People aren't going to sit there and say, oh, well, I don't like Joe Biden, so I'm going to go ahead and lose the opportunity to make millions of dollars. And the constraint on all of this right now really is shortages with everything. And those are only going to continue to get worse. So when everybody is doing everything they can, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, a drilling rig would be on a location for a multi-well pad for 30 days. Maybe that's 45 days now. What does that do to your development schedule? Can you justify the expense of bringing on additional rigs, knowing that they're going to take longer on locations, when that is going to further contribute to the constraints on your supply chain? I don't understand how anybody's going to be able to get around any of this. I think more domestic manufacturing is going to be the only way that anybody can have a chance at increasing their production, simply because it takes forever to get any of this shit right now. I mean, when I'm sitting here and I can't run a water well for 6 weeks because we can't get a fucking part for the pump, and I say, go ahead and replace the goddamn pump, put a whole new pump in there, it's cheaper than waiting 6 weeks to get water. Well, there's no pumps. So
yeah, I mean, and then how long is it going to take to actually start building like all this steel we need and all these other raw materials back in the U.S.? I mean, it's not going to be that quick, but yeah, this is not going away anytime soon. At least it might spark the next like American industrial revolution, where people realize we need to continuously build and produce shit here for our own supply chain.
Yeah, see, I think that only happens if we have a massive overhaul of who's in Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
Americans are
that
good
is
at
my
producing
assumption.
guns. We never actually lost our production of guns. So maybe we just need to start producing more guns to influence the change in Washington.
And there's apparently a bunch of anything that is supplied to the U.S. military has to be made in America, apparently, or a majority of things.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's definitely there, but there's no encouragement or incentive to.
Why wouldn't you want to save money by outsourcing to China for our military equipment?
Well, because you can't get those fat military contracts if you do so.
I mean, the story that I saw the other day was that Russia was getting ready to default on all of their bond payments, and that I think it was J.P. Morgan was processing payment today to avert a complete collapse of the Russian economy. I don't understand how that's ever not going to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's because it's like they're not actually serious about sanctions.
Yeah, but even if China says, fuck the West, we're going to buy everything from Russia now, that's still not enough. There's not the infrastructure in place for that to be enough for Russia to stay afloat.
I mean, I don't know. I've read all sorts of different stuff about how they have a huge, huge like central bank reserve of gold and stuff. And yeah, there's a little blip a couple weeks ago that they were getting ready to unload a bunch of crypto that the government had. So I mean, there's been some signs that they've been preparing for something like this, even if their military wasn't exactly prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that their economy can handle a lengthy conflict in Ukraine.
Oh no, I mean they're definitely getting sent back to the Stone Age, but that's why they're shutting down any exports because they're like, if you're going to hurt us, well, we're going to inflict as much pain on you as well.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the European gas situation is something that you can't really unwind rapidly, and it's a very unfortunate situation that there was an orange man that warned us about all of this a few years back. But at least we have no more mean tweets, right?
That's right. No mean tweets.
Hey, Joe Biden is good for one thing, and that's energy prices in general. Trump was not great for prices, good for regulation. Biden,
Yeah,
good for
we're
prices.
sick and tired of hearing your fucking corporate greed over there, Davis. Sitting there
I
drinking
mean, corporate
martinis in the
greed.
bar
Like,
with your windfall profiteering.
no.
I mean, honestly,
Wrong.
had Trump got elected, I mean, we're still probably in the same spot. I mean, I just think it's how how kind of screwy the underlying fundamentals are.
Well, we just relied on just in time. I mean, for so long. That's just the second China is being shady with their port activity does not help the global economy get shit around.
Well, I think that if something escalates over in Taiwan, shit like that, commodity pricing, inflation, everything else is going to be absolutely fucking wild. Energy prices are going to be crazy, but we're going to have the fucking morons in Washington step in and try to impose price controls.
Yeah.
And all that's going to do is cause inflation to go even higher. You're going to have companies that can't afford to continue producing goods.
Yeah, I mean, in I know I keep quoting it the last few weeks, but like in Atlas Shrugged, workers refuse to work because there's a price control on the end product, and it's
and
like
a production quota.
Right.
So again, we're so glad you finally finished that book. It only took you 5 years.
It's a long book.
Are you making any progress on the dossier book about Arm & Hammer setting up Occidental Petroleum to be a front for the Soviet government?
I could actually just start reading it live on air.
What? Yeah, read it live on air.
We would probably get deplatformed off of YouTube for that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
what book is this?
Dude, it is crazy. It's one of those books where you read like the little jacket on the back of it, and you're like, yeah, this sounds like somebody smoked a bunch of crack and made up like an alternate history about Occidental Petroleum. And then you start reading the book, and all of this shit is based off of actual information from our own government. Declassified FBI files and shit like that, showing how Arm & Hammer set up Occidental Petroleum to funnel money around the world for the Soviet government. Basically to help them avoid sanctions.
Yeah, no, I need to read it. I listened to a little podcast the other day from a guy talking about why Jeffrey Epstein was an asset of the Mossad.
I had not really heard that one.
Well, so it's that Ghislaine Maxwell's.
Give us the summary there.
So Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a big owned a couple of newspapers in England, was a big publisher, did some other stuff, but Jewish. But he got so wealthy and so well connected and was plugged into the Zionist groups in Israel when they were starting to recreate the country in the 40s and 50s. Then he got super plugged in with Mossad, and was kind of their he was like the go-between for all these governments, like the Soviets and the British government and the Israeli government, and he probably helped smuggle, or no, probably helped launder a bunch of money through the whole Iran Contra thing. So I mean, you just basically that works its way down to all the the fishy stuff around Epstein managing billions of dollars for people and not really having much of a hedge fund private investment background or anything. Nobody really knew who he was, and then he popped up with this multi-billion-dollar fund.
He
and then
a con artist.
And then got connected with Maxwell, who has very strong ties to Israel and the Mossad. And then next thing you know, he's flying around with Bill Clinton. But it's kind of the same story. Like Armand Hammer, probably had met Robert Maxwell as they were running around being, working with communists together in the 70s and 80s.
It's a small group.
I mean, I feel like Tejano Brown was just on here telling us the latest on the Q theories. But that is interesting. And, I will state that, there are a lot of people that believe that all of the Clintons and Epsteins and everybody else, have their little baby eating parties out on whatever that crazy island
I mean, the Hunter Biden laptop is real.
Are you talking about that Alex Jones thing?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's crazy that Alex Jones, as psycho batshit crazy as he is, was actually right about a lot of his
He
shit.
has been right about some stuff. I don't know what percentage of it has been right, but he's been
right about more shit than Frack Slap has. That's for damn sure. 10,000 tweets a day, you're gonna have one or two that are actually correct, right?
I saw a really funny meme today. It was I don't know what it is, some dog organization that don't use the prong collar, and it was the dog walking the human with the prong collar. And then I guess somebody responded like, "Oh, this is EFT every time Frack Slap tweets," and it was just smoke the pound. Was the leash.
I mean, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody should ever let it go either.
I can't believe did somebody actually bring a pound down to Richmond, or was that?
Yeah, there actually was a pound there.
That's what I thought.
It was Scotch Vessel was the one that brought it. We got WTX sitting here looking like he's about to give us some Alberta whiteboard action.
Yeah, my guys say I just bought these new FRs, and my guys are like, "Yeah, it looks like we work on a workover rig now." Beautiful,
nice.
Why can't I copy and paste a Latin long out of Google Maps into Google Earth and hit search and go right to the same place I was?
Because they would rather see you go to really cool vacation spots and look at photos and reviews of restaurants in Madrid, Spain. They make more money that way.
Maybe that's what I should be doing right now.
You just gotta kind of put them side by side and try and find it on Google Earth.
Okay, so you guys work out in the field. Have y'all ever had the issue of the geology people or surveyors or somebody sending you Latin longs in a different datum, and you input them and you go, I know this location's not correct? I mean, NAD 27 versus NAD 92, something like that.
93.
93. We've had
That's
this
why-
issue so many different times, and they'll send us stuff not accounting for the fact that I'm dropping this into fucking Google Earth, which, you know, my very scientific process of measuring distances via Google Earth. And you drop that in there and you go, I know that this is about a quarter of a mile different from where it's supposed to be.
That's why I always tell them to give me lease line footages so that they can't mess up GPS coordinates.
Yeah, I don't know. You must have worked for some better clients than I have. Just a bunch of morons. Is Scotty gonna join the chat here?
He just are y'all in the chat with him? He just said geos don't make mistakes.
Yeah, of course they don't. I mean, like, I'll never forget
Not
about the
intentionally.
time I was forbidden to speak with our geologist because I made a joke with her about she wanted to put a 6-well pad in the middle of a 30-acre frac pond. And I told her that there's a 30-acre frac pond here. I'll have to move the locations either 1,400 feet to the north or like 2,300 feet to the east to be able to fit your pad. Which one would you prefer? And she responded back and said, nobody told me there was a frac pond here. Well, we built the frac pond, so I just kind of assumed that people knew where it was. So I responded back and said, I'd be more than happy to talk with our construction guys about building an island in the middle of the frac pond for our location, or perhaps there's some spare rigs out in the Gulf that we might be able to contract and fly on over to have a floating rig in the middle of our frac pond for a couple of weeks. And she raised such hell that my broker got a phone call from somebody in our Houston office. My broker called me and said, hey, man, I know you were joking and that was pretty funny, but you're not allowed to communicate with the geology department anymore.
Fair.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that.
They're a sensitive bunch.
That's right, Scotty.
That is really damn funny, though.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
go.
Gates, if you ever, I don't know what the amount of people are you need on, but like if you need to let me go to get Scott on, let me know.
Oh,
I'm
no.
pretty sure we can have like 10 people on at once.
He's just
Let's see, I
sitting
can't see
here
two people.
typing
Oh,
instead
okay.
of actually talking.
Yeah, I think it turns into a clusterfuck before you actually max out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey, there he is. Oh, rock liquor.
What's up, Scotty?
Can't see shit. What up, Scott?
He still needs to adjust his audio settings.
You muted?
Is your microphone on?
Do you have a microphone?
Wouldn't last a day at the get-go.
Cannot hear you.
Yell louder. See if that.
Hello?
There it
There
is.
we go.
Yeah, I always just have to change it to my webcam. I have it set to like my guitar recording setup. So whenever I use my webcam, I have to change it. So, but look.
What are you working on these days, man?
Not the only one in the hat game these days. That's the best shit talking I've got for now.
It needs work, Scott. It needs work.
We're going to send you a cease and desist letter.
I'll be okay with that. Did you see we got bumper sticker magnets? Our Sipe store has 2 products now. So we're moving up in the world.
You should have worked a partnership with us to make hats for you.
Jeff's got that down. I don't really have a whole lot to say. I just kind of do what I'm told.
Yeah, well, The train's already left the station. We're talking with all the other groups now. So you guys have gone to the back of the list, man.
You ever you still work with Rando? Have Randoland merge?
I have a package sitting over on the shelf over here. Tried to send him a Kenny Lay pint glass, and it got returned to sender. So I hope the dude's doing all right. I need to just call him up and check in. But maybe he got rid of his PO box or something. We're sending a bunch of stickers to Mr. WTX's PO box for
I appreciate y'all doing that.
For the meetup on the 1st, and just really hoping they get there in time because Printful has a history of, guaranteeing a certain date and then sending them 4 weeks later.
No big deal. No big deal. We can always mail them out if.
Yeah, that's just such a pain in the ass. Take it from a guy who mails out hats every day.
Just send it back to the sticker shop and say no thanks.
Yeah. If you hit return to sender on something like that, I think it's going to cost me like $500. I had somebody return a T-shirt one time, and I got billed for the T-shirt. I got billed for a restocking fee, and then there was like some additional processing fee from Stripe that I got hit with. And one T-shirt that cost me like $18 and maybe like $4 in shipping ended up costing me over $40 because it got returned.
Good Lord.
And I was like, if somebody just reached out and sent the intern an email and said, hey, the shirt's the wrong size, can I get a different one? I would have fixed it.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had to do this.
I would have just sent you a new fucking shirt,
Which we have done with people. Some people are smart enough to email us directly.
The intern is actually, well, he was earlier, wearing a sweatshirt that got returned from somebody.
Yep.
You got to do what you got to do, right?
Which I'm glad it fit him because it certainly didn't fit me.
Is there really no way to? There's like no quick or easy or even a way to take a GPS coordinate that has degrees, minutes, and seconds and turn it into degree decimal?
I mean, there's websites where you can convert it.
Yeah, just do an online converter.
That's what I always do. I always just convert it over.
This is silly.
It's just.
Well, obviously
sorry,
you got
West
those
Texas.
coordinates from somebody that had their head too far down hole.
That might be going up hole up there.
Perfect. Wish I was in a bar or in my shop having some cold beers.
Yeah, are you sitting in the office right now?
In the fucking office, man.
Ooh, that's brutal, man. It's
You
Friday.
hate to see that on a Friday.
You hate to see it.
When are you gonna send me your PO box address so I can send you some sweet heat?
I'll text it to you. I
Okay.
forgot you asked for it.
I've asked for it like 4 or 5 times by now. I don't know if you just think I'm joking.
Should I just post it on the screen?
So what time do you think you were going to be in town on the 1st, Scott?
Well, I'm still waiting to hear back from Kermit Andrews about when he's gonna, pick me up.
From the airport or what?
No, he's always going from Houston to Midland.
You think that he's actually going to give you a ride?
Why wouldn't he? He's such a great guy.
No, I mean, let me rephrase. You think he's going to give you a ride and you're going to survive that experience?
He's not that hard. He's a nice guy.
God, you're going to be so drunk by the time you get to the bar, you're not going to be able to get out.
I'll just avoid the Tito's.
I don't know, man. It's the Shiner.
Well, that stuff, I always complain to him when it's only like 4.4% alcohol. I mean, that's baby.
But
Oh,
if you
well,
drink
good.
a billion
Good.
of
Then
them,
he'll have an 18-pack for you to finish on the way to the bar to prove you're a man.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll just need a catheter because I'll be pissing out all that watery beer.
First time I met him, we were going to leave. Like we closed down the bar, and anyways, when we were walking out the parking lot, and I was like, "Hey, you got a beer for the road?" He was like, "Yeah, no problem." He opens up the cab of his truck and there's a little cubby hole that's got a Yeti cooler hidden in there. And he pulls out 2 beers and he was like, "Here's one for your wife. She's driving." Like, perfect.
Nice.
Just in that perfect reach where if you're driving, like you can get what you need.
I mean, that's about the modern day equivalent of what I was talking about earlier with that truck my buddy had in high school that had the slot for a pony keg and the toolbox, and then had the draft lines running up into the center console for the tap. I mean, we had some fucking wild times driving around, hanging out in that truck.
Was it CO2 charged, or did you have to like stop and pump it every now and then, or was there just enough agitation to keep it foamed?
It was CO2 charged, but there was always issues with like the valves and everything hooking up in the toolbox, and so I'd say maybe about a little less than 25% of the time we tried to use it would it actually work. And we were fucking idiots back then, so we didn't really know what we were doing.
It's really low, man.
Yeah. But, that was also back when, having a keg party, you'd just rent the tap and, nobody cared because you were going to finish the keg.
Was 90s on earlier? Because I'm just now seeing he was texting me about, or maybe he's texting me something about Twitter.
No, he is not joined in yet. I don't know that he quite got the memo that we were starting an hour earlier today. And I don't know that the Tulsa boys got that memo either.
They're like on vacation or skiing or something again.
They're always on fucking vacation these days.
are they going to tune in at 4:00 probably?
No, probably not.
Yeah, they're always just like out partying, doing whatever.
Bert is so rich, he just skis all the time.
They were a good time. I'll just send you guys a funny video later that Pete sent me from the Bomber after party, where it's just Pete, me, and Kitty basically dancing until the lights come on.
I've seen that video. I have that video saved on my phone. It is pretty hilarious. You're right.
I guarantee Pete sent that to everybody.
There was an attempt by Kitty to do, I believe he was trying to do the worm. I don't know what it was that he actually did. I don't know that there's a name for it.
I'm pretty sure he was trying to do that. You call that like the dead man's dance or something.
Yeah, it's like the white boy, pretty much.
Thank you.
Have y'all seen this or tried it yet? The 0 carb Bud Light?
Fuck no, I haven't done that.
It tastes like a seltzer. No, not surprising. Yeah, look.
You're on the big screen, showing off product placement. Hey, at least you're on brand because we are sponsored by Budco. So,
Silver Eagle.
I also been drinking a lot of these lately.
Carlsberg.
It tastes like Stella. It's made in Denmark. It's Danish.
I've seen it places, but I don't know that I've ever tried that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you did a blind taste test with like Stella or kind of tastes like Heineken, I mean, what?
Widely regarded as the worst European beer.
Stella is?
No, Carlsberg.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, it's like the cheap. It's like their Bud Light. It's like
no, their Bud Light is Bitburger.
I just know it's like
Which I kind of like
Bottom
Bitburger,
shelf.
but apparently Germans think that you're just a fucking stupid American when you order a Bitburger.
Well,
They don't
German
sell it in
beer
Germany,
is
I don't think.
awesome and completely different.
I mean, if you want to say it's cheap for European beer, go ahead. But it's still fucking better than Budweiser or Coors or something.
Hey Scott, the next
It's not
time you're
better
in
than
San
Keystone Light.
Antonio, I'll take you down to the German beer garden in downtown, and we'll get you all fucked up with all the crazy Germans down there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll have the time of your life, be polka dancing and everything.
I enjoy that. I
mean-
maybe even get some suspenders for it.
And
Yeah.
we might no, you need
Those are called
lederhosen.
lederhosen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not suspenders.
We need to get
Stop.
Laura in town. Every time she's in town, I'm out of town for work, and she travels like a fucking savage these days. But we need to get you and Laura in town sometime, and we'll go hang out down at the German beer garden.
Yeah. I enjoy that.
Well, and Jeff's welcome to come too. He seems like a fun dude.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, quick update on the Latin Long saga. So the fcc.gov/media/radio/DMS-decimal is an actual converter. But it actually turns out that my Google Earth was frozen. It copies and pastes, and when you hit search, like once I restarted, we're good.
Oh man!
There you go, man.
Classic computers.
Oh man!
Hey,
Got my for my beer drinking.
Hey, WTX, could you stand up and model the brand new FRs that you have real quick for anybody that's watching?
How many people are watching?
Could you just do a little turn for us?
And I can do it in the chair.
It's just us.
There's nobody watching except for Lindsay. Lindsay's rage watching right now, and
Lindsay, what the hell? Get in the actual.
No, I told her if she wasn't gonna talk, she needed to just watch, and she said, "Fine, fuck you," and she left, and now she's watching.
Oh god.
I was
Lindsay.
looking forward to her showing me how to fold a fitted sheet, because if any of y'all have ever tried to fold a fitted sheet, how the fuck do you do that?
I just roll that shit up.
I mean,
That's the proper way.
I kind of fold, roll, fold, and then just cram it onto a shelf.
Do you have to iron
Whatever
it first?
gets it the thinnest.
Why would you iron it?
To make it get it the flattest, and then
I have never.
I don't. I
Is that
think
a
we
thing?
own an iron, but I don't think anyone has ever used it.
You could borrow
that's-
GW's. Teach you how to use it.
Yeah, we've got a steamer that I use every once in a while when my cowboy hat shrinks on me, or when my head gets too big.
Mhm.
That's a thing.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
I did not know that.
If you
I only
leave
have
a
a
cowboy
really shitty cowboy hat.
if you
so-
leave a cowboy hat, a felt hat, a straw hat's not gonna shrink.
Oh,
on you.
yeah, gotcha.
If you leave a felt
I
hat
figured.
sitting in your truck in the sun or anything like that, it's absolutely gonna shrink.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I've given myself a headache cramming a shrunken hat onto my head just to wear it for a couple hours for a party or something. And then gotten home and pulled it off, and the hat still hasn't moved. My head just shrunk around it.
compress your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
You look like a cone head after.
No, you got like that mark across your forehead for a couple hours afterwards.
Yeah, you can't get away from that. That's too funny.
So I was kind of hoping that Moody was going to try to join in from Hawaii. I think it's like lunchtime there right now. Maybe.
He's enjoying his drinks and beach.
I mean, it would be really amusing if he, joined us while he's wading out into the ocean. But
Be
knowing
suspenseful to
Moody,
watch.
he'd have a beer in one hand, his phone in the other, and if there was a wave coming, he'd drop his phone to protect the beer.
I was
Keeps
just
me
about to
alive,
say,
that is.
in the beaches we're used to, it's probably pretty easy to wade out in the water because there's no waves. Hawaii's probably a lot different.
I don't know, man. I've never been. But if I had to wear a mask for 8 hours, I probably would just say, yeah, I'll see it some other time.
It really depends what time of the year you're there. If you're closer to winter, I believe the waves are bigger, especially in winter. They're pretty big, but in the summer they're not very. I mean, spring to summer they're not very big. I don't know what they would be right around now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's
But yeah,
got
I
to be.
could not wear a mask for 8 hours. That would drive me crazy on a flight.
There was it last weekend when we went to Charles? Anyways,
Yes.
Lyft reminded me like 3 times, like, make sure you have a mask on, and I'm like, 2 things, fuck that. We're past that now.
Did you just wrap your beard up over your face?
And thing number 2, like I was just like, I really hope this driver does not enforce that because I don't have a mask. I'm not going to get one. I'd rather walk from the airport to Charles.
So when I took a couple lifts in Houston during NAPE week, and I just would ask the driver when I got in. I was like, "Hey, do you care? Like, do you want me to wear a mask?" And all of them said no. And then at some point during the week on an evening ride, I got a little email notification from Lyft scolding me for not wearing a mask during a ride.
One of the drivers lied to you.
I know, he reported me.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
I got Landman Wife banned from Uber until she posted a selfie wearing a mask, which she still has not done.
So she's still banned from Uber.
Yeah, well, we got into an Uber, and the guy said, "Do you not have masks?" And I said, "No, we don't." And he drove us to our house, and then he said, "I'm reporting you for not wearing a mask." So obviously, I said, "Go fuck yourself."
That's kind of a cuntish thing to do on his part.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not
Absolutely.
just deny the ride? Then?
Yeah, and I was like,
Cares
"Hey, man,
what
you
I
could have
thought.
asked us to get out." And he was like, "No, fuck you. You're supposed to wear a mask. Those are the rules." Okay, well, guess who didn't get a
Well,
tip?
Yeah, if I'm required to wear it, shouldn't you provide it? Maybe.
Or
Yeah,
aren't you
I just
required
don't
to
have a
enforce it?
million masks.
Yeah, like who still
Also,
has masks sitting around at this point in time?
No, I'm not buying any more of those things. I'm done with it.
Not for this disease, at least. Maybe the next one.
Yeah, the sad part is like a really bad pandemic came through. No one's gonna believe them. Maybe that's the thing. They scare everybody with the pandemic that's not that bad. Not that bad. I can't talk. And then they release another one that is really bad, but everyone's like, "Oh, it's not gonna be bad like the last one," and then everyone dies.
Scott, you've had one Bud Light Zero and one Carlsberg, and you can't talk, and you think you're going to survive a ride to Midland with Kermit?
I've drank with him plenty of times, and I've never really seen him like hammered. He's just like he's consistent, but he's not like pounding them drink after drink.
I mean, one of the guys where you can't tell if he's had 3 or 30.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I know some of those guys. I might be one of those guys. Are y'all seeing this price right now?
105. Woo!
It's nuts.
I mean, it's only going up from here.
Let's see. I actually don't have prospects for once.
I'm sorry, we're
Well,
going to have
I'll
to
take
kick
the-
you off on that note.
I'll take the Leafsburger out of here then, and Hey, I got prospects if you need to hit me up.
Yeah. I'm like Mattress Mac if he didn't have any mattresses. Not good for anything.
Yeah, man. What's that $1,000 bonus gonna do when you don't have any mattresses? Right?
Wow. There's people, they like line up outside Gallery Furniture every day. Like, go there. I mean, people love that place.
They also line up outside Louis Vuitton stores. That doesn't mean shit.
You got people that line up outside of the String Bean for lunch every day too.
What is the string bean?
It's when the old people get let out for their lunch. 60 to 70-year-olds. It's like Luby's, but worse.
Oh,
Luby's is
Art
great. Don't
Art
you
Berman
besmirch
I love
Luby's.
Luby's. Love Luby's. R.I.P. to Luby's. If you want to feel like you're at Luby's, go to Piccadilly Cafe.
I don't know that San Antonio has a Piccadilly Cafe.
Damn. You hate to see that.
At $100 oil, Piccadilly Cafe should be on every street corner in America, right?
Just like a Starbucks.
So, I mean, like, when they keep talking about demand destruction and shit like that, do you guys think that people are actually going to be deliberately not driving because of higher gas prices now?
You
Not
just
at these
don't
prices.
have a choice. I mean, it's inelastic
problem.
to a point. And I mean, like, even if it gets up to $200 a barrel, I mean, the reality of it is people do have to drive, or they take public transportation, which is a certain percentage of people that does it. I mean, I just don't think you get around it. I mean, eventually people have to pay for gas. They just pay for less, maybe. But
Yeah, I do think you see people burn a little bit less gas, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be enough to like move the needle real hard, right? It's until like I don't. And I really we were talking about this earlier. I don't think you're going to see a demand destruction like you did in 2008, where people were at least they were saying that they were buying fuel and then having to pay a portion of their mortgage so they could continue to buy fuel. That's not happening. I think we're still a couple dollars away. You know, we may be $3 away from that actually happening.
But at the same time, like the actual price of gas is not entirely dictated by the oil industry. And
no,
there's
because
this
it's
myth
first
being
in, first out inventory.
there's this myth being perpetrated by Washington that, you know, high gas prices are because of corporate greed, or now it's because of Vladimir Putin. And that's actually not the case, because there is a lot of government manipulation that goes into the price of gas. So in the United States,
A ton.
the price of gas is not a realistic reflection of the price of oil. And it hasn't been for a very long time.
Well, think about how many oil companies even own their own gas stations. I mean, it's so much a smaller margin, and they do first in, first out. So when when oil price is high, they have to sell out all that inventory before they change their prices. So when you say Biden and them, I mean, when the administration is like, oh my God, oil dropped a few dollars, but gas went up 3 cents. 30 cents. Like, well, they still have to unload the inventory they bought originally. You know, gas stations don't work on high margins from the gas side.
And if a price of a something of a widget or whatever, a commodity is becoming volatile, aren't you going to price it to the higher level of that volatility? Like if I mean,
Of course, why would
it
you
makes-
lose money?
It makes more sense to go cuss out the cashier at the Chevron than it does to blame an oil producer for high gas prices. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
it's literally the person working the cash register who has no control of it has more control over gas prices than Pioneer Natural Resources or Devon or somebody else like that does.
I think another thing is a lot of people like to hate on ExxonMobil, and I was kind of arguing with some lady on Twitter, and I was like, Exxon produces like 3 or 4% of the world's oil, and then like it kind of like flipped a switch in her head, and I was like, the big bad oil company doesn't have that much control. They don't make like I think people think Exxon makes like 50% of the world's oil, or produces, not makes, and people just don't understand how small even that big super major is. In
Okay,
the
so how much of the world's oil does Saudi Aramco make? Because that's the highest proportion for one company, right?
Well, what do they make? Like produce 10 million barrels a day, so like 10%. How much does ExxonMobil produce a day? I think it was like 3 or 4 million when I did a quick Google search.
Yeah, I don't know those, and then I think the number of barrels that Saudi Aramco makes just dwarfs the next biggest player, which is Exxon, right?
Yeah. Why is
Are you looking it up?
1,000 barrels per day. So I guess in 2020, Saudi Aramco. Rosneft was second at less than half of Saudi Aramco's production, but that was back in 2020. So,
wonder how many of those barrels is actually produced by Exxon. Those
yeah,
barrels.
That's true.
Because don't it be like the like Saudi Aramco, right? There's other companies that operate in Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Aramco still owns the minerals.
No, I think Aramco's the only operator in Saudi Arabia these days.
Yeah,
but at least for Russia, you're right about that.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of partnerships with the
without
majors
Halliburton
and stuff.
and ExxonMobil and all those guys. Russia has a really hard time producing efficiently.
I mean, Aramco just has to go hire, engineers from Exxon and BP and Chevron to go work there. But yeah, they're running everything, or Aramco is running everything.
Like Pemex or however you say the
Pemex.
Yeah, Pemex.
So Saudi Arabia is somewhere around 11% of the daily oil production in the world, which is pretty close to what Scott was saying. I hate to agree with Scott on something, but pretty dang close. Just not quite there. I'm not like a numbers guy. Everything adds to one, but
well, they make the math easy when you assume we produce 100 million barrels a day. So
yeah,
I mean, even a landman can do that math.
The world only consumes 100 million barrels a day.
Well, I'm assuming supply, production, and supply are about. I know they're not. Supply.
Well, they're not right now. They're inverted from what they used to be. Which, that video from Real Pete today was pretty funny about how we had a decade of companies losing hundreds of millions of dollars producing to keep oil prices low, and what a stimulus that was for the global economy after 2008 for recovery. And now that the companies are finally starting to make a profit, everybody's accusing them of profiteering.
Right. Well, look at Amazon, how much they've grown in that time period. And what do they rely on? shipping stuff out, free shipping. I mean, that's all being kind of subsidized by those oil companies with low vehicle fuel costs. You know,
Well,
Which-
and even you see the like UPS trucks that say powered by natural gas and everything. It's like, well, natural gas is something that we produce usually as a byproduct of producing oil, but there are plenty of gas wells in the United States. And, they used to be a lot more profitable than they are now. That's not to say they won't be profitable again in the future. I think they are profitable at the current pricing, but not to the extent they were when Aubrey was fixing those prices. I think the market for LNG is only going to increase if Europe is serious about cutting out Russian gas. But again, we don't produce enough gas to be providing everything that Europe needs, so I don't know where the rest of that gas is going to come from.
We got to go frack Europe.
I think we need to frack South America, bro.
No, I want to.
I think so too.
Hey, when this Ukraine thing's over, there's going to be huge opportunity there, and they're going to need help.
I mean, maybe that's the new angle. Get in there while it's still a war-torn country.
Let's go buy some mineral rights in Ukraine.
How many board seats can we get hooked up with on various Ukrainian companies?
Well, if we start the company, we just need to make sure
I
that we
need
put Hunter
10%
Biden on
for the
there,
big
and we're
man.
golden.
Does
That's
Ted
entirely true.
Ted Cruz have a kid that's old enough to serve on a corporate board?
I think his name's Frack Slap.
I thought Ted's son was the Zodiac killer, or is it just him?
No, Ted's dad is the Zodiac killer.
Ted's dad.
What about Elizabeth Warren's kids? They're already mineral owners, so they probably know the ins and outs a little bit.
Have you ever looked at how much
They don't know
actual
shit.
interest those kids got from her? It's pretty tiny.
Okay, well,
No,
It's
really.
also pretty funny that they had Los Angeles addresses too.
It is amusing though that she says that she sold off her fossil fuels interest by giving it to her kids. But
for $10.
whatever.
Well, there's a lot of nepotism in the oil field, or oil patch, so it makes sense.
You hold your tongue, sir.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm not an asshole politician, Scott.
I think I've seen pictures of some of the McGovco kids sitting out there in some like camp chairs on location, right?
Yeah, we take it easy. At least we go out on location.
Thank you.
Jay will always be like, "Oh, fuckers these days, they just sit in their office in Houston. They would never come out like this." Because we'll be out in the logging trailer with wireline guys while they do the logs and taking all the formation tests, and be the hot.
How much mud have you actually tasted?
How much mud?
Yeah.
I don't really taste.
How else do you know if there's cement coming out of your returns? You got to taste it.
No, I've had my experience with.
Turn on your goddamn video. You're wearing the rock liquor hat. Come on, man. You gotta taste the fucking mud.
Taste the mud.
That's the whole thing. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. The old school guys that literally will just take the little taste of mud.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll taste when we're perfing a zone and we're like swabbing it. We take that's when we normally will taste for oil.
What does the oil taste like?
Oil makes you burp.
Tastes like money.
Have you ever tasted it? Have you ever tasted any oil products or anything like that?
This
is
the little film of Frio oil right there. on the top,
Huh.
and then some sand. This is from the first Kohler.
Everybody,
Obviously,
Damn it.
the zone was wet, but we went up a little higher and found a gas zone. But this is a memento I'll keep forever.
all right, stand down. Someone's about to die, so I'm heading out.
All right, later, Davis. Thanks for joining us.
But
All of you are lagging. Oh, that's weird.
So, seriously though, there are guys that work on these, flowback jobs and shit like that are going in and they don't give a fuck. Old school dudes, and they'll taste anything. They'll be ripping cigs on location. I think it's more of a Louisiana practice, but those guys are all throughout the oil field these days.
yeah, there's no FR on like the rigs that what Jay uses to drill, and Jay always wears flip flops. Only time he puts on closed toe shoes is he has some Skechers for Nate to put on.
I do kind of recall the Skechers.
Yeah. It's funny, like Skechers are like either like under 10 or over 60 if you wear them. There's like no in between.
But Jay would be the first person that says that's all petroleum products.
Mhm.
Feminine products, petroleum products.
Oh, he likes to remind women where their tampons come from.
Yeah, I'll never forget the spiel he gave me last year at NAPE about how tampons are made with petroleum products. And also, he did go into the COVID being a bioweapon. He covered a lot of ground in like 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I literally just stood there just smiling.
What can you do? Just say, sounds good.
So
COVID being a bioweapon?
yeah, from obviously the China.
That's kind of out there, right?
Mhm.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Hey,
He did sit us down all in like mid-February 2020 and say, here, oil's going to go to shit. You better have another job lined up. Like a month before that, everyone else was like, oh, it's really like shut in production and all that. Like David Ransome Wood was yelling, everybody's got to shut in.
he was also putting panties on his face at that point in time, so I don't put that much stock in what that dude says. And by the way, he did type curve every single well in North America by hand.
DRW?
Yeah, that's what he told people at NAPE last year.
That'd take a long time.
Right? That was the whole point. And
I mean, how many wells do we drill a year? Like,
somebody was sitting there and said, no, you didn't, and started this huge fucking argument with DRW where he's sitting there trying to like impress all the ladies. And it was like, no, you fucking didn't. That would take forever. So that's the joke I keep making on Twitter when Jen talks about what a great guy DRW is.
so WTX, you're going to be at the Sipes Chili Cook-Off, right?
What is that again?
April 9th. I'll make sure to tell you more about it on the 1st.
Yeah. If we'll see what Carmen, if Carmen's headed back that way.
Yeah, you could just hop in the truck and drink Shiner the whole way.
Yeah. Man, I'd love to cook chili in a chili cook-off. I've never done that.
Are you a beans or no beans guy?
I'm a beans guy, but I'm a beans guy. Let's just say that, right? I was taught how to make chili from people from Oklahoma.
There's a lot of hate on both sides of that situation, and I don't really care. I've had good chili with beans. I've had good chili without beans. So
Yeah, same.
if it's good, it shouldn't really matter.
You know what? I'd like to try it, and you can go say, "Ooh, this is gross or weird." But instead of beans, I would like to put like hominy in it. Like, because normally I have like chili with cornbread. And it's like, well, hominy kind of reminds me a little corn beans. It's like, what?
It's probably somebody in New Mexico probably does that already.
While they're eating the peyote buds.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, Scott. Like, or maybe even potatoes.
Dude, I don't know. You're like, I think you're going to like European like borscht and shit at that point.
Yeah, it's baba ganoush. Or not baba ganoush.
You're crossing out of chili territory at that point in time.
WTX probably likes Skyline chili.
The hell is that?
What is Skyline chili?
So in like Cincinnati, it's
that's not chili.
With the chocolate? No,
the like, cinnamon. It's got like cinnamon in it or something. They put it over spaghetti noodles.
Yeah,
that's called meat sauce.
Cincinnati chili.
Damn Yankees.
I'm out. Like Arkansas is as far north as I'll eat chili.
I don't know. I've never really spent much time in Arkansas, so can't say for sure.
I ordered a chicken fried steak one time in Lamar, Colorado, and they had to ask, "Do you want gravy?" Like, of course I want gravy. I don't want just this greasy piece of beef. This like the shittiest cut of beef breaded and fried without gravy. Gotta have gravy. And gravy came out, and it was just like white. It was like Elmer's paste. Elmer's. There was no pepper, salt, anything in it.
Well, I wish Alberto was here to tell you that they made that gravy out of ground up horse. Which, at some point in the near future, we might be having to switch to as a food base.
Horses?
Yeah, because the price of grain is going through the roof. We can't get fertilizer. And a lot of the world's grain comes from Ukraine and Russia. So you already shut down that supply. Most of the fertilizer in the world comes from Russia. So when the price of grain becomes too expensive for people to keep feeding the horses, what do you do with the horses? We don't need that much more glue.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were talking about this last week, Alberta chimed in and said, there are parts of Canada where people still eat horse meat. So I've been joking about that all week. Lindsay keeps bringing it up on Twitter. But it is a thing. People do eat horse meat.
Yeah, Europe. It's a very European thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, yeah, whatever. Horse meat, goat meat. If it's prepared well, I'll try it.
I mean, it's red meat. Probably couldn't tell the difference from venison or something.
I don't know why I think that horse meat would be tougher, but I've never tried it, so I don't know.
It's got to be leaner. Most horses aren't fat, right?
Yeah, that's true. Unless you like raise them to be fat, like because you're going to eat them.
Yeah, feed them out. I mean, with what grain though? Right? Grass fed.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's the problem.
Yeah. So you've got
the world still needs goats.
So look at a horse. I mean, they've got
to make a living.
A lot of neck meat, good shoulders. I can do some carnitas or something with some horse meat.
And probably a larger brain.
I would definitely try horse at least once.
I bet with as big a head as they got to have a long tongue.
Okay, so now maybe
some lengua fajitas.
Scott, maybe there's a horse meat chili option at the cook-off.
It reminds me of that South Park where Kenny cooks out one person's parents and put them in the chili. Or would that guy get named Scott in it too?
I think so.
Scott Malkinson? What made you eat your parents?
Oh, your tears taste so good.
Oh,
You could call it like Great Northern Chili.
French chili.
Yeah.
well, another thing I don't know if I'd want to eat a horse because to me they seem like big dogs, but seals. I know you can hunt seals in Canada. Joe Rogan had that one like spearfisher lady from French Canada area, and she was talking about getting seals. So
Some seal blubber.
When anybody brings up seal, I think of a terrible joke that I heard a while back, and the guy was like, "Hey, you wanna hear a joke?" I was like, "Sure." I was like, "Baby seal walks into a club."
that was my fake laugh for you,
Yeah.
WTX.
You get the because I guess that turned into a controversy up in the north for a while. People murdering seals just by walking up and clubbing them. I guess they were eating the fish. Maybe it was fishermen that was happening to. They were just out clubbing seals.
So
Well-
anytime people start talking about seals, I just think of like really, really, really bad acne scars.
Why is that?
Was that a name for acne scars of seals?
No, seal the stinger or the singer.
The stinger.
The stinger. Seal the stinger.
How many more birthday beers have you had, intern?
Not enough.
Are you watching the news talking about Stinger missiles?
I think that's where my brain was going.
Apparently, Jode is going to try to call in, but this is not going to work. He has no idea what he's doing. I mean, again, going back to supply for extra barrels of production, Scott, where are you going to go if the Biden administration came to you and said we need more oil? Where do we get it? What's your plan?
My plan?
Sounds like a plan.
I don't know. Maybe figure out some enhanced production in a lot of those old fields. Bring them back to. I mean, there's like what 10% of our oil comes from all these little stripper wells. It's like you can make all these little wells go double in production. There's another million barrels.
But how are you going to do that without spending more money than the fucking increase in production is worth?
Government subsidies. I'm gonna ask for more.
Government subsidies for gas lift? What's the plan on how are you going to increase that production?
We're gonna do CO2 carbon capture, get the ESG credits, and then we're gonna do that at do like a CO2 flood.
If it was a serious question, what would your answer be? No.
I mean, I would think, where besides shale, where there are large reservoirs and left, and that would be like deep water Gulf of Mexico
and South America, right?
So I would say you need can you lease more in the Gulf of Mexico? Is that off limits now?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think those lease sales are still shut down.
So open that back up, and
but that's going to take what's the realistic timeline? I wish we could get fucking Andy or more or somebody like that on here to talk about the offshore sometime. But what's the actual turnaround for that? Because it's years.
Yes.
To get initial production on those projects, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's not a short-term solution.
And with the changing winds in Washington every 4 years, most companies are not willing to allocate a $500 million budget to a project that's going to take 8 years, you know?
Are there any shale plays under Washington D.C. so we can go just
God,
frack D.C.?
How amazing would that be for like the next? Do y'all remember like Olympus Has Fallen, that movie?
Yeah.
How amazing would that be for like the next scenario of like DC getting destroyed to be like some Chinese company goes and secretly starts fracking under DC. And like during the State of the Union, like the entire capital suffers like a massive earthquake that collapses into all of the boreholes that have been fracked by the Chinese, you know?
Wait, are you trying to say fracking causes earthquakes?
I'm trying to say that Hollywood
Just
would-
for the sake of Hollywood.
it's like Sharknado, you know?
Jesus.
It's based on real science. You just have to go one step further.
Oh, okay. I didn't know Sharknado was a documentary.
I mean, that's how it started out.
Okay.
But why let the truth stand in the way of a good story here, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's like when you go and you're pumping gas at the gas pump and you look at all the warnings on the gas pump and you're like, has anyone actually ever blown up from shuffling their feet while pumping gas?
I don't want to know. I think that burning to death and drowning to death sound about two worst ways to die.
Maybe CO2 floods are probably not the way for you to go.
Yeah, and I don't know that much about enhanced recovery, but I've always been told, and maybe reservoir engineer correct me, that once the pressures die down to a certain degree, if you like build them back up with a flood, it's not very effective. You have to like be simultaneously injecting while it's drawn down and not let it. It's like if you're gonna let air out of the balloon, you have to put air back in the balloon at the same time and not let the balloon get too close.
Right. You can't take air out and then fill it with water and then actually expect it to produce anything other than water.
So, I mean, I think it would be cool. There's just so many. Like, I'll look at the Gulf Coast stuff I look at, and there's like so many banger wells. But if we produced them better with enhanced recovery, I mean, how much more would they have made? But not in the 40s, they might not have known to do that.
I don't believe that they did, Scott.
Yeah. So I don't know.
They didn't have reservoir engineers with mad Excel skills back in the day,
Really?
They did not. No.
Mm-hmm.
They had DRW type curving every well in North America back then.
On graph paper and with an abacus.
Mm-hmm.
We got the live shot of Mr. Jode sitting there just banging out spreadsheets right now.
Actually, looking at my March Madness standings and wondering how irritated Tui is that like a total gambling noob is beating him.
Well, I mean, you let your kids pick, right? That's
The
only way to do it.
That is true.
I think I'm doing a lot. I think my bracket's doing a lot better today than it did yesterday.
There was that girl 10 years ago that had the only actual winning bracket in the entire United States, and she picked it based on the mascots and the team colors. She had no idea about any of these actual teams.
Well, that's what I go for in the Super Bowl, is whoever has the prettier uniforms.
It's interesting you said prettier.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with admiring male athletic fashion.
I'm gonna catch you off there. And hey, Jode, how was golfing for the first time in 4 years today?
Super windy and not fun.
Are you gonna be sore tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm sore every day, bro. Getting old sucks. No, like I had the thought several times today. Like this is a terrible way to waste $100.
Yeah, at $100 in how many hours?
Oh God. Well,
Because the hours are worth dollars too.
that is true. So we teed off at 8:30. I think we were done at like 1, and then I had to go like sit through, the requisite bad lunch and beer with these guys, and
Well,
yeah,
did you
so-
get the deal done? Did you give them the little proverbial hand jibber under the table?
no, unfortunately, there's no deal to be had with these guys. I don't know if I told y'all that the deal that I'm working on. Those guys want to go. I think I mentioned it in the chat, but they want to go to Brooks County to see gas wells in person before they invest. Most ridiculous thing.
Why are they going to make their decision based on the uniforms?
That's pretty much the long and short of it.
So
I
have
don't
you
know.
let the operator know that they need to go out there and put a fresh coat of paint on this shit?
Yeah, I honestly thought about just calling the whole thing off because it was so embarrassing calling my old company and saying like I've got these two idiots that want to invest, but first they want to drive out to the middle of nowhere, Brooks County.
And ride a pump jack with pasties on.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, if they're a pump jack, it would be more exciting, honestly. Like we got 6 shut-in gas wells. I think they open them up once or twice a month right now. That's the idea.
What if that's like what they get out there? They're like hoping to see a naked chick on a pump jacket. They're like, fuck, so disappointed.
We were told there would be breasts.
At the very least, pasties.
Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, I mean, I did start drinking beer. It was a pretty weird feeling. It was like must have been about 9:30 because it was just windy and cold and miserable, and I was like, got to make a change. So I, asked for some Mealers, some cold Mealers, and she handed me Tall Boys. So I started the day off with like 4 Miller Tall Boys at 9:30 a.m.
Before you switched to Irish whiskey at noon, right?
Exactly, as is my preference.
I mean, because you have to warm up.
Right.
You gotta dry out a little bit from the beers.
Exactly.
You can't have too many beers.
What world issues have you guys been solving? Like besides the uniform choice of the NFL?
I mean, we were asking Scott what he would do if the Biden administration called and said, "We need more production. What are you gonna do?" And he started spouting off a whole bunch of shit that he's been reading on the internet.
Yeah.
That he actually knows nothing about. And we're just really wishing that Colin Moody was here to actually give us a thoughtful answer and a possible solution to the problem.
Yeah, or the mythical Billy Ray Valentine.
He's skiing.
He's also not willing to provide a solution to the problem because he continues to laugh and say "fuck everybody."
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel that way.
I mean, that's kind of like a pretty widely held sentiment amongst industry professionals right now.
That's about right.
You asked for this, so here you are.
I had an interesting thought the other day. Just throw it out there for discussion. I know everybody's probably still like really down on gas, but when oil was tanking and Natty was kind of holding its own, like, is it possible that the sentiment is changing so much? Like they're seeing what natural gas is doing and holding Europe hostage, that they're like, wait a minute, we need oil, but we have a lot of oil, but we critically need in acute ways natural gas.
But you again face the associated gas problem. That a lot of our gas production is a result of oil production.
Well, I mean, we could fix that in a hurry.
I mean, honestly, who in the last 5 or 6 years has been out drilling gas wells?
I mean, everybody in
Jamie Govern.
Haynesville and Marcellus.
Yeah, but how much actual drilling has been going on there in the last 5 or 6 years versus in oil plays?
Well, I mean, nobody beats the Permian in amount of activity.
So that's why the associated gas is a huge.
Right. I think it's more there is such a solid like foundation of LNG demand now that all those export terminals are up and running
Mm-hmm.
that kind of is going to hold the price pretty steady unless we get a huge flood of associated gas.
Or unless we have some brilliant people in Washington decide that we're going to ban exports.
Yeah, that would be super intelligent.
And something that they have actually discussed.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I saw some articles come out. It's been, I think before Russia invaded, they're like, yeah, U.S. officials are weighing the Jones Act and all that. I hadn't seen anything more about it. So are they still kind of toying with that idea?
I think they're trying to keep that on the down low because any rumors of discussion about that would send prices to $200 immediately.
Yeah. I saw the IEA came out with like a list of ways you could help conserve energy in this trying time.
Well, the IEA also came out with a report saying we actually need more fossil fuels, which is amazing because what was it 3 months ago that they actually said the only way we'll save the planet is by going no new production globally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that same report about their suggestions of what to do. And it's very much like if you make under 6 figures a year, it's like basically stop driving your car, you dirty poor person.
I mean, I agree with that. Why are those people on the road anyway?
Get a bike.
Or a bus. Ride the bus. God damn it. It's powered by natural gas.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two main highlights were like no driving on Sundays and, lower all the highway speed limits.
Brilliant.
I mean, okay, so lowering the highway speed limits over the grand scheme of things, is that going to make a difference? Because I don't know, maybe, like a 16th of a mile per gallon makes a difference over, millions of vehicles. But at the end of the day, it's not decreasing demand, it's increasing production. That's the only way you solve the problem. Unless you do COVID lockdowns again, and that suppresses demand pretty effectively.
Ban all the poors from doing anything.
Yeah. Well, it would have as much effect, not COVID, but the driving 5 miles an hour slower would have the same effect. So I'm old, and so forgive me for catching up, but apparently everybody that's rich enough to buy new cars these days are ending up with the cars that die at the intersection, where you get like you save like 1/10 of a tank of gas over 5 years of driving the car, and you have to suffer through your car shutting off every 10 minutes. This is like a new thing apparently.
Where it'll if it gets under a certain RPM, like you're sitting at a red light, it'll turn the engine off and then turn it back on when you're.
Yeah, every vehicle does that now, and the second I get in my truck, I hit the disable switch.
Okay.
Yeah, I either put mine in tow all or sport. Just I like sport because it like keeps the RPMs higher and the air conditioner works colder, so it actually gets worse fuel economy. But
you're supporting the industry too.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's
I
the
didn't know.
poor and rich people switch. You can decide.
Scott,
Just offsets
do
each
you,
other. Like
Scott, you don't turn that switch on, do you?
I drive an 08, so
So you don't have that switch.
no, it doesn't even have Bluetooth. I still plug my phone in with a cable to get Spotify to work.
Hey, well, at least it has the cable input, you know.
Well, it's better. The vehicle I had before that was an 02, and it still had a tape deck.
Oh, so you had like the little converter tape deck deal?
Yeah. You know. But I missed that car. It was a Highlander, and it was a great car.
So I don't really think that there is a solution to the problem. You know, the federal government is telling us that EVs will solve this crisis, but all of the electric vehicle companies are saying they can't produce enough vehicles.
I mean, Tesla just raised their prices like twice in the last month.
And it's not doing shit for demand or supply on their side. It hasn't decreased their demand, which is fine. So why wouldn't you be raising prices? But it also has not resulted in a supply increase either. So
Yeah, we need to start some mineral exploration companies.
yeah, and we need to start fucking strip mining California. Kick all those hippies out of the fucking canyons and start strip mining and drilling for all of the resources under the dirt in California.
If we just started offering all the hobos in Los Angeles real heroin instead of that fentanyl shit,
God damn.
they would work. I was watching a doc or something about them, and they're like, "Yeah, you know, this fentanyl just doesn't get you high like real heroin." And I was like, "That sounds like a problem we could make the solution to." If they're all high on heroin and we give them a little bit of crack to keep them going, or meth, that's probably cheaper. You know, they're not going to get tired or feel pain. So
then you're gonna use them as like what, rig hands?
well, you give them a shovel and a bucket, and they start going to get some of those EV minerals.
We're
yeah.
going back to the 1800s, fellas.
That's right.
Back in like what, Baku, where we're just digging pits for oil.
Mhm.
Just give them some opium and let them go to work every day.
Tell them to build that railroad.
That's right. It worked before. Do it again.
I don't
Hey,
know.
happy birthday, intern.
Thank you.
I
I
think
saw that your lunch experience was less than spectacular.
I mean, it was fine. It was a very average Twin Peaks experience.
Yeah.
there was less cleavage, but more ass shown
Oh.
than expected. So
It was not bad, but
I guess
it was not
balances out.
spectacular.
Yeah. Well, that's
I think-
disappointing.
It was also very busy, so like we saw our waitress like 4 times.
Yeah.
This was in the middle of the
but-
day or at lunch or
Yeah.
But the male manager, who is wearing a fishing shirt, by the way, delivered me a beer, and I said, "I'm not paying you to deliver me a beer, sir." You know,
Is
He
Twin
kinda-
Peaks like Hooters?
he kind of looked like Scott a little bit.
Handsome man, apparently.
last time I was at Twin Peaks was in Odessa, and the guy sitting next to us, like every time the waitress would walk up, like he starts groping her in the small of her back and starts like trying to slide his hand down to her ass and stuff. It's like really fucking creepy. And about the like she's like not playing along with it, but it's like she's really smooth, pushing his arm back, and he's just fucking super creeper, super groper, getting after it. And
He's Joe Biden over there.
yeah, man. Yeah, and she finally had to like confront him and say something. It was like, this is This is a cool place without all the fucking rapey stuff, right?
Is waitress at a Twin Peaks in Odessa? Is that one of the world's most dangerous jobs?
High risk, high reward, though.
That's true.
Mhm.
Oh god, I can't even imagine.
I mean, I think that Twin Peaks has got to be probably their highest grossing location.
Gotta be.
That the Tilted Kilt in Midland.
That place was awful.
I've never been.
No, it's not there anymore. It shut down. It was so
Oh,
bad.
that's right. It's the new Mexican restaurant that that Andy likes. I forget what it's called. The Mission, something like that.
No, the Tilted Kilt, because it opened when I was living there in 2016, and my roommate and I went, 4 or 5 times, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Can't be any worse than the one in Waco. full of
Landman life. How's being a dad?
It's about what everybody tells you it is.
Lots of sleepless nights.
I think this morning I woke up at a little before 5 a.m. and baby was screaming, and I looked over at my wife who was standing there, and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I need a minute," and walked out of the room. So, yeah, I've been up and drinking beer since about 5:15.
Like a real, true oil field degenerate.
Yeah.
Thankfully I wasn't in the field today because, with this heat wave these days, FRs probably would have killed me. Not that I actually own any FRs, by the way.
I think the toughest part of parenthood so far for me was the moment I realized that I'm not special and that everybody deals with this shit. Just had this realization one day. I'm like, oh, this is so hard. I can't believe poor me. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, everybody had parents.
My mom said something to me the other day about, we didn't have all this technology back when we were raising y'all. And I said, yeah, but y'all didn't suffer through all the same difficulties either.
Well, they also, basically about the time we turned 4, they're like, go outside.
Yeah.
You're 6 or 7. They're like, yeah, we'll see you when the street lamps come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Back
when there used to be street lamps.
Yeah.
The grid can't afford street lamps now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, or maybe we should bring the gas lamps back, right? Like, if the grid can't afford the electricity for the street lamps, then we need the guy like the guy that went around London and lit all the gas lanterns.
Isn't that how London burned down like 5 or 6 times?
Maybe.
I don't know. Was that gas from like peat bogs and stuff?
No, that was back. That was back when they first started horizontal fracking.
Shut the.
I don't think they even drilled for it. I know that much.
It was like coal methane gas or coal seam gas or something like that.
Hey,
Okay.
Scott, I'm gonna start sending you some books on geology, and we're gonna need you to freshen up on your geology a little bit, man.
Let's bring back whale oil.
If my self-esteem ever gets too high, I always have a great time talking to Landman Life and brings it right back down. It's like, I'm having too good of a day. I need to go talk to Landman Life.
We love you, but everybody's got to get knocked down a couple of pegs every now and then. I mean, look at Intern. He spent 60 years being knocked down 2 pegs every day.
That's right.
And he made it to a whopping 30 years old.
Yeah, that's the goal of being the boss, because then no one can give you shit. because you just get.
Yeah, maybe someday I'll figure out how to do that. Well, I think we've kind of run our course. We ran through just about everything we had to talk about today. Anybody have any closing statements, hot takes, anything like that?
WTX, text me your address.
Okay. Well, I actually saw some of that hot sauce in Oklahoma, but I have not seen it anywhere. I haven't seen it in Monahan's at all.
Okay. Well, I'll send you a care package.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Jode, you got anything? Any parting wisdom?
No, I had something I forgot. Typical. So
You forgot to take your Centrum Silver today, huh?
I know. Well, and also drinking tall boys at 10 a.m. will do that. So y'all have a good weekend. I got to go get the sitter paid and go to my second job.
Intern, again, happy birthday. You got any
Thank you.
last statements?
I do not.
WTX?
And I'm deep in the in doing some recon here, but I don't have anything now that I figured out that my Google Earth was frozen. I probably wasted 30 minutes just continuing to copy and paste.
All right, guys. Well,
All right.
appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll catch you again next week.
Sounds good. See ya.
Later.
Adios.